I have never in my lifetime seen the amount of media, I don't know what to call it besides just outright false information being peddled constantly by almost every mainstream media outlet. Okay, so hello folks, we are in the woods, just chilling, getting really muddy. Some of us are, at least. So if you've been following this platform for a while, you know that my little slogan here is integrate your shadow, deprogram your mind. Usually here we're talking about emotions, shadow work, working with how we feel, all that stuff in the mental health realm, because that is really what shadow work is. It's working with your subconscious, your triggers, trauma, that whole deal. So you may have noticed recently that I've been kind of talking maybe a little bit less about that and talking more about societal stuff, especially on YouTube. All of my recent YouTube videos have been very geared toward talking about imbalances in society and big picture shadows. This is the deprogramming your mind aspect of self-development and self-actualization, individuation, whatever you want to call it. This deprogramming your mind thing has to start happening on some level for everyone. And that doesn't mean we all have to think the same thing, because that is programming. But that just means that we do have to start opening ourselves up to some different ideas, because that is the deconditioning process. So in the spirit of that, I'm going to share here a link to a documentary I highly recommend watching. If you aren't into this stuff, or even if you're against this stuff, or you're not open to it, that's perfectly fine. You're welcome to still stick around and follow this platform. By no means is this like a declaration that you have to believe what this documentary is saying. I am simply personally at a point where I can't seem to keep my mouth shut anymore because, I spend a lot of time considering things, thinking before I speak and feeling into things before I decide what is true about them. And at this point, it's been many months since the whole coronavirus thing started. And in that time, I've gone through a few stages of what I think about it all. And I am now firmly in a position where I believe that the mainstream media is trying to take humanity off of a cliff. And it's hard for me to prove that. I know it because when I look at this information, I feel, I just feel it in my gut that something's very wrong. So I talk a lot about intuition in this channel, intuition development, and I talk about it in a very literal sense because, as you do more shadow work, intuition development comes naturally. So you may notice as you're doing more of this work that you start to look at things that you used to think were normal, and you see how deeply damaging and abnormal and destructive they are to humanity and the planet. Anyone who tries to speak or share something true or express curiosity or questioning are told that they're anti-science and they're wrong. I know for a fact that all of the media outlets are controlled by a small handful of people. So that's thousands of media outlets controlled by, I think it's 6 companies or something. So no matter where you're getting your media and your news from, you're getting it from the same couple of people. The main thing I want to say here is that if you are consuming content, whether online or anywhere, if you are consuming news, media, opinions, anything, with your logical mind, you are susceptible to subconscious brainwashing. Literally, this is not a made-up thing. Subconscious programming has been around forever. It has always been a thing. It is not some weird out there idea. And so if you're consuming content strictly from your mind or from your trauma, which is your fear, your pain, your sense that you're unsafe, your sense that no one can protect you, just all these painful stories and beliefs, if you're consuming content from the mind or from that pain, you can't decipher what is true and what is false. And I know this from experience. You can't tell what's true and false until you get out of your mind and get out of your pain. And that takes a lot. So for most people, this is why I made a video on YouTube called Why I Stopped Watching the News. For most people, all you have to do is just turn it off. That's how, because when you're being conditioned, it's not happening consciously. It doesn't matter how smart you are. It doesn't matter that oh, I know the government is corrupt, but I still watch the news because I can discern between. No, that is not how subconscious conditioning works. Do you understand? Everyone is susceptible. No one is exempt from being conditioned and brainwashed because it's not happening consciously, okay? So I really want that to be clear. What I have been doing is I have been finding individuals who I know, who I can see that their priority is to be themselves, is to be their individual selves, and to become more and more of that. And I will find people with those platforms and follow them and not necessarily believe everything they say, but take what they're saying as their truth. And when you have enough individuals who are in their truth and they're not confused and they're not hiding anymore, and you get a bunch of them together and they all seem to be coming to the same conclusions, that's telling me something. So that's my new way of getting news, is relying on individuals, not basically, most other things are infiltrated with some sort of agenda, some sort of, whether it's, trying to force you to vote for somebody. Everything is tainted in the media. So your only chance of being able to discern truth from fiction, truth from absolute emotional manipulation and lies, is to learn who you are, shadow work, all that stuff we talk about in the workbook and on the YouTube channel and everywhere. There's that. And then there's the deprogramming your mind aspect. So that's going to involve you starting to look at the things you believe, the people who you idolize and what they say. Are they telling the truth? Look at the lifestyle of the individuals who you are following. That's my new favorite thing. I've been seeing a few of these big famous leaders, and then you're hearing about their personal lives, and their personal lives are complete destruction. It's their lives are falling apart, and everyone is reading these books that they're writing, about how to live life, how to, these motivational books, and it's but look at their life. They may have all the intellect and knowledge and logic in the world. It could not make up for the fact that they're out of touch with their souls. Most people don't believe that soul is even a thing. They're like, what are you talking about? That's just some weird idea. It's just some esoteric concept. They have no literal connection to it. So you shouldn't be following them and listening to everything they have to say. You can be friends, you can be whatever. But what we're doing in this society is we're getting all of our information about what reality is from those people. So that's bad news, because they're leading you off of a cliff. If that's, the kind of people you're following, and the unfortunate thing is, and I hesitate to say this stuff usually because I don't like to be negative, but the unfortunate thing is that I can't really deny any longer is that it's kind of like the majority of the mainstream news, media, celebrities. It all seems to be run by very, very lost individuals who are spreading misinformation. There's a bee on my hand. Spreading misinformation non-stop and confidently and adamantly. And if you don't believe my misinformation, you're just out of touch. So like I said, if you are interested in some different information about health, pandemics, coronavirus, there's a link. It's a free documentary, free to watch, and I hope you get something out of it. Hi. Okay, I'm back. I'm editing this video and I'm realizing that there's something that I forgot to add, or something that I should add. So when people post this kind of content, like what I just posted, there is a tendency for a lot of people to quickly jump on this bandwagon of, well, who are you? What do you know? You're just a random person. You're not one of the experts, There's this big emphasis on you're not one of the experts. And so they're very quick to jump in and debunk you, right? That's a big term nowadays. Debunk you based on the fact that you do not hold a particular position. So really, what expert really has become in this society is someone who agrees with mainstream. I mean, so there's that's kind of not necessarily what makes someone an expert, but really it goes back to what I was saying in my last video about this emphasis on logic and the mind. So what makes someone an expert is if they have degrees, if they hold a high position in whatever government, the medical industry, holding a high position, having a lot of academic education, going to a fancy college like MIT or Harvard or whatever, being backed by big mainstream news outlets. All of these things, what make you an expert, it's purely based on the mind. What is the problem with this? This is the reason why we have so many emotionally unwell narcissists in positions of control. Because when you have an entire population who is just valuing the mind, guess who's gonna take advantage of that? If we're not valuing the heart and the feminine in any capacity, and we think that anyone who is speaking from a place of intuition or emotion is insane, guess who's gonna take advantage? Everyone who is really intelligent and they have no connection to heart, soul, whatever you want to call it, their humanity. They have no connection to that. If someone holds a high status and position, then we automatically assume that they are valid, correct, etc. They are unquestionable. And because we're not judging them, right? Isn't this a Martin Luther King quote? Judge people by the content of their character. We're not doing that anymore. I don't even know, maybe we never did. We're not looking at people as personal, we're not looking at people personally and subjectively. So we're not looking at people's personal lives, how they treat themselves, how they treat other people. We're not assessing their emotional wellness, their psychological wellness. We're at this point in society now where we've gotten so far off track that we are becoming more and more oblivious to what it even means to have a conscience. What does it even mean to do the right thing? What does it even mean to live in alignment with nature, to live in alignment with all of the different parts of ourselves? When you discard all that, It's like you're playing, have you ever played like a Mario Kart video game and like you crash into a wall or something and you get turned around, and as you're driving backwards and there's this thing flashing on the screen and it's like wrong way or turn around, turn around, turn around. And the further, most people will just turn around and go back the right way. That's like your conscience. It doesn't, it just pops up and it's like wrong way, try another way. These people have like canceled that out. As a culture, we are trying to cancel that out. We're trying to basically say the GPS is wrong and we just keep speeding in the wrong direction, and it's like there's all this evidence, things are popping up everywhere that's like wrong way, wrong way, evidence that it's the wrong way. But because we're like, well, we've already fact checked it, so let's go wrong way. And we assume the GPS is wrong. The GPS is your gut, your intuition, your conscience, your humanity is that GPS guidance system. So that is something that we cannot abandon. Many people are trying very hard to abandon it, but it can't be abandoned if you want genuine well-being and quality of life, both individually and societally. So that's that.